The Jerusalem Bible, Zechariah Chapter 12, The Deliverance and Restoration of Jerusalem. An oracle, the word of Yahweh about Israel. It is Yahweh who speaks, who spread out the heaven and founded the earth and formed the spirit of man within him. Look, I am going to make Jerusalem an intoxicating cup to all the surrounding peoples. When that day comes, I mean to make Jerusalem a stone to be lifted by all the peoples. All who try to lift it will hurt themselves severely, and all the nations of the earth will mass against her. When that day comes, it is Yahweh who speaks. I intend to strike all the horses with confusion and their riders with madness. But on the house of Judah I will open my eyes, and I will strike all the horses of the peoples with blindness. Then the clans of Judah will say in their hearts, Strength for the citizens of Jerusalem is in Yahweh Sabaoth their God. When that day comes, I mean to make the clans of Judah like a brazier burning in a pile of wood, like a flaming torch in stubble, and they will consume the peoples round them to right and left. And Jerusalem shall stand firm in her place. Yahweh will save the tents of Judah first, to forestall the arrogance of the house of David and the arrogance of the citizens of Jerusalem from rising to the detriment of Judah. When that day comes, Yahweh will spread his protection over the citizens of Jerusalem. The one among them who was about to fall will be like David on that day, and the house of David will be like God, like the angel of Yahweh at their head. When that day comes, I shall set myself to destroy all the nations who advance against Jerusalem. But over the house of David and the citizens of Jerusalem, I will pour out a spirit of kindness and prayer. They will look on him whom they have pierced. They will mourn for him as for an only son, and weep for him as people weep for a firstborn child. When that day comes, there will be great mourning in Judah, like the mourning of Hadad Ramon in the plain of Megiddo. And the country will mourn clan by clan, the clan of the house of David apart, and their wives by themselves, the clan of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives by themselves, the clan of the house of Levi apart with their wives by themselves, the clan of Simei apart with their wives by themselves, all the clans that remain, clan by clan, with their wives by themselves. When that day comes, a fountain will be opened for the house of David and the citizens of Jerusalem for sin and impurity. When that day comes, it is Yahweh Sabaoth who speaks. I am going to root out the names of the idols from the country, and they shall never be mentioned again. And I will also rid the country of the prophets and of the spirit of impurity. If anyone still wants to prophesy, his father and his mother who gave him birth shall say to him, You have no right to live, since you utter lies in the name of Yahweh. And while he is prophesying, his father and the mother who gave him birth shall run him through. When that day comes, every prophet shall be ashamed of his prophetic vision. They will no longer put on their hair cloaks to utter their lies, but they will all say, I am no prophet, I am a peasant. The land has been my living ever since I was a boy. And if anyone asked him, "Then what are these wounds on your body?" he will reply, "These I received in the house of my friends." Invocation to the sword, the new people. Awake, sword, against my shepherd and against the man who is my companion. It is Yahweh Sabaoth who speaks. I am going to strike the shepherd so that the sheep may be scattered, and I will turn my hand against the weak. And it will happen throughout the territory. It is Yahweh who speaks, that 2/3 in it will be cut off, will be killed, and the remaining third will be left. I will lead that third into the fire and refine them as silver is refined, test them as gold is tested. They will call on my name, and I shall listen, and I shall say, "These are my people." And each will say, "Yahweh is my God." The eschatological battle, the splendor of Jerusalem. Chapter 14. See, a day is coming for Yahweh when the spoils taken from you will be divided among you. Yahweh will gather all the nations to Jerusalem for battle. The city will be taken, the houses plundered, the women ravished. Half the city will go into captivity, but the remnant of the people will not be cut off from the city. Then Yahweh will take the field. He will fight against those nations as he fights in the day of battle. On that day, his feet will rest on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem from the east. The Mount of Olives will be split in half from east to west, forming a huge gorge. Half of the mount will recede northwards, the other half southwards. And the vale of Hinnom will be filled up from Goath to Gaal, and it will be blocked as it was by the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. Yahweh your God will come, and all the holy ones with him. When that day comes, there will be no more cold, no more frost. It will be a day of wonder. Yahweh knows it, with no alternation of day and night. In the evening it will be light. When that day comes, running waters will issue forth from Jerusalem, half of them to the eastern sea, half of them to the western sea. They will flow summer and winter, and Yahweh will be king of the whole world. When that day comes, Yahweh will be unique, and his name unique. The entire country will be transformed into plain, from Geba to Ramon in the Negeb, and Jerusalem will be raised higher, though still in the same place, from the gate of Benjamin to the gate of the first gate. That is to say, the gate of the corner, and from the tower of Hananel to the king's winepress. People will make their houses. The ban will be lifted. Jerusalem will be safe to live in. And this is the plague with which Yahweh will strike all the nations who have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh will molder while they are still standing on their feet. Their eyes will rot in their sockets. Their tongues will rot in their mouths. And such will be the plague on the horses and mules, camels and donkeys, and all the animals to be found in that camp. When that day comes, a great terror will fall on them from Yahweh. Each man will grab his neighbor's hand, and they will hit out at each other. Even Judah will fight against Jerusalem. The wealth of all the surrounding nations will be heaped together, gold, silver, clothing in vast quantity. All who survive of all the nations that have marched against Jerusalem will go up year by year to worship the King, Yahweh Sabaoth, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Should one of the races of the world fail to go up to Jerusalem to worship the King, Yahweh Sabaoth, there will be no rain for that one. Should the race of Egypt fail to go up and pay its visit, on it will fall the plague which Yahweh will inflict on each one of these nations that fail to go up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Such shall be the punishment for Egypt and for all the nations that fail to go up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. When that day comes, the horse bells will be inscribed with the words, "Sacred to Yahweh." And in the temple of Yahweh, the very cooking pots will be as fine as the sprinkling bowls at the altar. And every cooking pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall become sacred to Yahweh Sabaoth. All who want to offer sacrifice will come and help themselves from them for their cooking. There will be no more traders in the temple of Yahweh Sabaoth when that day comes. Amen.
Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. Yahweh is there. Yahweh is there. Yahweh.